Hi there, and welcome to our Livestream Party Tasty Tidbit. I'm so glad you all are joining. Although Livestream parties are just now becoming popular, they're a new way of partying that will stick around. We're sharing the best practices for setting up your Livestream party, host coaching, and post-party practices. I'm Reagan, and I'm the Field Success Specialist, where I work with consultants on improving their party experience. I'm new to the Field Success team, so I'm super excited to be joining you all here today. So here's what we're going to cover today. The transition to Livestream parties, party setup, which will include what you should use for your Livestream party, communicating with guests, and preparing on Zoom. Then we'll go into the Livestream party flow, where we'll cover a party kickoff, planning your demo for party time, preparing for the live stream, and wrapping up your party. Then we'll go into live stream party best practices, and then we'll have our Q&A. So today we're going to start by going over what live stream parties are and how we evolved to this way of partying. This past March, many consultants who historically only did in-person parties were at a crossroads. There was a need to shift the business to virtual, but they wanted to do it in a way that felt more like their cooking parties. With the way the world was rapidly shifting to connecting with one another, people were looking for ways to connect virtually. What's great is that more people started using Zoom, and this opened the doors for another way for you to do your virtual parties. So what's a live stream party all about? Live stream parties are a new trend that's taking over. It's when you stream yourself live at a set date and time using video and audio with others who can also tune in. Some of the more popular live stream tools that consultants are using include Zoom or going live on Facebook, which can be done either through your business page or in a private group or event. Most consultants surveyed are using Zoom because you can see, hear, and interact with guests throughout the live stream party. This is typically on a set date and time and paired with a Facebook event where you and the host can share content before and after the live stream event. So live stream parties have absolutely taken off for so many reasons. We surveyed over 60 guests and hosts, and here's what they said when we asked them, what did you like about the live stream party experience? All of it, so awesome. The consultant was an amazing host. She connects well with the audience. I enjoyed the presentation very much. She's very easy to listen to. We were able to meet socially and adhere to social distancing guidelines. #new normal. I love that I'm in the comfort of your own, I love that you're in the comfort of your own home and can multitask while watching, especially during the week when I work late. Much easier to accommodate more guests. Overall, people love that they can invite their loved ones and interact with them while being socially distanced, even when their loved ones are across the country. They love the engagement and the fun without having to leave the comfort of their own homes, and hosts love not having to clean. Consultants don't have to travel. You can cook in the comfort of your own kitchen and have all of your tools right at your fingertips. So based on surveying consultants, we learned that there are a couple of approaches to setting up this party. We're going to share what's working with some of the most successful consultants doing live stream parties today. As mentioned earlier, you can do this party as a Facebook Live or Zoom. Based on consultants surveyed doing this experience, most are using Zoom since it provides a better opportunity to connect with guests. Many of the tips we're sharing today, though, can be applied to whatever live stream tool you prefer to use. So first, let's walk through the options available with Zoom. You can either use a free account with Zoom or choose to pay a monthly fee. So if you're using the free version, here's what we found works best. Please plan your time because meetings are restricted to 40 minutes when you have 2 or more guests on a Zoom free account. So both scheduled meetings and meetings in your personal meeting room are restricted to that time limit. And consultants are typically meeting 45 minutes to an hour. And there's no time restriction with a paid account. Use your personal meeting room over scheduling a meeting. When you schedule a new meeting, it gives you a new link for each meeting. This can get confusing for consultants and guests. With your personal meeting room, it's the same link every time. And then with your personal meeting room, you don't have to choose your settings every time. They'll always stay the same. Then you won't have to remember to either remove a password or unmute guests. If you're doing a lot of live stream parties each month, some consultants find it valuable to purchase a Pro Zoom account, which is about $15 a month. This gives the host extra functionality as well to help out with your live stream parties. The Pro account lets you schedule meetings with up to 100 people, have scheduled meetings longer than 40 minutes, record your meeting so you can upload it to YouTube, and share it with those who can't make it to the live stream party. You also have the option to mute or not mute participants when they enter or during the meeting. Many consultants surveyed found it best to partner their live stream Zoom with a Facebook event. A Facebook event makes sense for this kind of experience because it is a live event that's happening at a specific time. If you're more comfortable using groups, you can certainly do that as well. So here's what successful consultants are doing. They're creating a Facebook event within the same week as the live stream event. They're adding the Zoom link in the event location. You can also add it to the description too if you'd like. We've also seen consultants add the Zoom link to the cover image of the event as well. Once the event's created, provide directions for how to download Zoom for their mobile phones or their computer. Then you'll want to create an intro post that includes important information for the event and pin the post so it doesn't get lost. This would include the shopping link, catalog link, Zoom link, and ordering details. Here's the tip. To make it fun, give your live stream party a theme or ask your guests to bring something to the party. For example, you can do a virtual happy hour and focus on sips and apps. Ask the guests to wear their craziest party hat, or try a fast and fresh weeknight meal party and have guests bring their ugliest meal prepping tool that needs replacing. You could also ask other things to make it fun and social, like ask guests to find a Zoom backdrop featuring their all-time favorite TV show. All of these things help open the door for conversation during the party. Now, if your host and your host friends aren't on Facebook, that's fine. You can do the Zoom party by itself and rely on the host for party invites. Host coaching is so important in this kind of party because getting guests to show up on a set time and date requires the same attention as in-person parties. So here's some tips before the party. If you're going to create a Facebook event for the live stream, make sure the host is inviting guests to the event. Just like with a virtual party, we recommend the host send personalized invites either through Facebook Messenger, text message, email, whichever is the best way to reach your guests. Have the host also post about the event on their personal profile too. Your host has an important role of getting the guests to the party. Consultants have found that frequent reminders are best for higher guest turnout. You'll want the host to remind the guests 2 days before the event and then send reminders the day of as well. Have the host post in the event and send a group text or email 1 hour before the event starts and then again about 15 minutes before it starts as well. Last, you'll want to make sure if the host is not familiar with using Zoom, you should do a host coaching call 1 or 2 days before the event and do a mini tutorial. Do this at a similar time you're doing the party so you can test the light. During the time, you can teach your host how to get into the Zoom meeting, go over what they can expect during the party, what you'll demonstrate, and also test the sound or anything else. We recommend teaching the host how to check the Zoom chat for any questions they may have, how to change the view from gallery to view the speaker, and how to mute and unmute, and any other housekeeping. This is a great way to make sure both you and the host are aligned on what to expect. You'll also need to think through your physical setup for the live stream. You'll want to determine the space you want to use in your house, whether this is in the kitchen or at your kitchen table. You'll also want to review the framing for your space. Also, try to minimize clutter and make sure that all the tools can be seen. Then, you'll also want to practice the live stream setup at the same time of day so you can test the lighting, sound, and video quality. So here are some camera and audio tips that we have. If you're using a cell phone, be sure to use the back camera because it is typically higher quality than the front selfie camera. Be sure your phone is secure however you decide to mount it. And if you're using a laptop or desktop, maybe consider using some books or a stand of some sort to make sure the camera's high enough to capture you and your cooking space. Here's some audio tips that we have. It is totally up to you whether you'd like to mute guests right away or not. We've seen consultants do it both ways. Whichever way you choose, be sure to coach guests on how to mute themselves so that everyone can focus on what you are saying and doing during your presentation. If your filming device is further away or you don't want to have to project your voice as much, using Bluetooth headphones is a great option for you to speak into. Be sure to use, or not to use, loud tools like the blender right in front of the speaker. You can set up the party using just one device like a laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Some consultants prefer to use two devices. They'll use one to film and monitor the Zoom, and another one that films directly to Facebook Live for any guests who prefer to watch it from there. Now that the event's set up, let's dive into what consultants are doing for their live stream party. These parties follow a similar structure as in-person and virtual parties. So before you do your live stream party, you'll want to plan your party time just like you would for an in-person party. Most consultants surveyed are taking 45 to 60 minutes for their live stream parties. It's similar to an in-person party where you'll want to plan time for your intro, close, and about 20 to 25 minutes for a cooking demo. So what are you making for your live stream parties? Here are some ideas that work here. You could demo a recipe just like you would at a typical in-person party. Think about what you could serve your family that week so the food doesn't go to waste. Guests are loving learning a new recipe in these parties. You can also try telling a story with products. You don't have to cook an entire meal, but you can select a variety of products and demo them with some simple ingredients. Here's some examples. You could do your favorite breakfast products and select 4 or 5 of your favorite breakfast must-haves and do mini demos with each. This is a great way to feature some awesome power tools too. For example, you could highlight the deluxe cooking blender with smoothies, how to make a quick egg omelet in the microwave egg cooker, and some fun ways to make pancakes with the pancake blender bottle, easy pancake molds, and nonstick cookware. Here's another example, favorite prepping tools. Some of my favorite prepping tools are shown here. Feature the tools that make meal prep easier for you, like batch cooking chicken in the quick cooker, or how I can easily prep my meals using any of these cutting tools like the manual food processor, food chopper, or the quick slice. Don't forget to demo some products that the guests or the host may have asked about before the party. Before the party, it's important that you brush up on your product knowledge. Customers come to the party to learn more from you. Make sure they know the key features and benefits of the products and have personal stories to share about the products. If you don't know everything, that's totally fine. Let them know that you'll find the answer later and post it in the event. You'll also want to make sure that you feature a recipe or tools that you feel comfortable with and have practiced before. It's important that you have a party kickoff so that you can introduce yourself in the event and get to know your guests before the party. In the Facebook event you created, post 2 or 3 times a day to engage guests and get them chatting. This will get them in the habit of checking in on the event. Plus, it's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about them. Your host can also help with posting. Choose engagement posts that will give you a clue about them. Here are some ideas we have. You can use some engagement posts for marketing imagery. You could ask guests which products they're most interested in learning about. You could also ask the host to post some of the items from their wish list. You'll also want to be sure you have your host introduce themselves with a post as well. It's best practice to incorporate a strong intro and close during the live stream portion of your party. So take the time to write out an outline or some bullet points to help you out. You can check out the in-person party planning worksheet as a resource to jot down your intro and close. You can find this in the Plan a Party page and marketing imagery. The Quick Start party cards are also a great resource for party flow. You can find these in the Livestream resource library. So in the introduction, it's important that you cover this. You'll want to join 10 minutes early with your host in the live stream event, and then you guys can welcome guests. Then, when everyone's in, you can introduce yourself and share your why. Then you'll want to thank your host, and then you can learn more about the guest by asking a question like, who here loves to cook, who hates to cook, and who has to cook? We found that with live stream parties, it's helpful to do a quick review of Zoom functions so your guests know how they can get in on the action of the party. This is important because guest engagement helps make the party a party. After your intro, do a quick review of functions like this. How do they mute and unmute themselves? Encourage the use of chat and raise your hand function. How would you like them to ask questions? Will they interrupt you? Will they put their question in the chat and have the host read it? Will you pause every few minutes to check on questions? Let guests know what information will be shared after the party. Will you be sharing a product list or a recipe? Let them know if you're recording the live stream event in any way. If you are recording the live stream event in any way, whether you're streaming live to Facebook or you're recording on Zoom and uploading anywhere, please let participants know. If they wish not to be shown, please let them know how they can turn their video off so that they can still see and hear without having to be shown. Now it's time for the demo portion of your party. Consultants shared that they will keep some notes on products or recipes near them for reference, just in case during the party. During your demo, be sure to pause and ask anyone if they have questions every few minutes, and have the host check the chat and read them. You may notice that in this example, which is from a cook along with Tim, you can't see his face here, but what you do see is a really great shot of what he's prepping and cooking. That is okay. This was intentional framing. You can try this too if you're doing a full cooking demo. This gives guests a way to see the food better and your products in action, so go ahead and give it a try. As part of a strong close, you want to make sure that you do the following. You'll want to thank your host and guests again. Then you'll want to make sure the shopping link is shared with guests again. Make sure you keep the communication method consistent with guests. Encourage guests to place their orders right after the live stream party by offering a free gift for ordering before midnight, and close your party a day or two after the live stream event. Share order reminders just like you would in a virtual party, and have your host reach out to guests if they haven't ordered yet. Then you'll want to share the recipe and products that you showed them during the live stream in the Facebook event. You can create a list of the tools featured with the names and the item numbers because people buy what they see. Then, for future bookings, share the host special and ask who's interested in gathering their friends for a fun and social event just like that one. Last, make sure that you offer the same great care that you would in any other party. Text or message thank yous and send them a recipe that they can use with the product, and use those moments to connect and see who may be interested in booking their next party or even joining your team. Here's a host coaching tip. Have your host text or Facebook message guests and thank them for coming and remind them to place their orders with the shopping link. Here are some of the best practices that we've learned from consultants. Plan your time. Plan for your live stream party to be about 45 to 60 minutes. To keep this, make sure you have your tools organized and ingredients prepped. Pull any other tools that you think guests may be interested in based on other conversations before the party. Incentivize for on-time attendance. Some consultants like to do an on-time drawing. Either write down names of guests as they appear, or you can have your host write down names. Or you could just take a photo of the Zoom to see the names of the people who are in the meeting for quick reference. Let guests connect. Based on our survey results, guests said that they wish that they had some more time to chat and connect with each other. Give some time in the beginning of the party. Let guests get familiar with Zoom by muting and unmuting, and let them chat. Save time at the end of the party and take mini breaks throughout. Take a sip of water every 5 minutes or so and ask guests if they have questions or comments. Engage during the party. Use chat to engage guests throughout the party. Ask guests questions and ask them to put their answers in the chat. In the beginning of the party, you can ask where they're from and how they know the host. Ask them engaging questions just like you would in a virtual party. Like, what's your favorite meal to make, or what ingredient do you hate to cook with? You also want to utilize the raise your hand feature to ask guests questions, like raise your hand if you have this product, or raise your hand when you learn something new, or raise your hand when you mention something that they struggle with in the kitchen as well. Make sure that you're recognizing them and acknowledging their participation. Last, make it fun. If you choose a theme or a fun thing for them to do, make sure that you're incorporating it into the party. Have fun and know that it's okay to make mistakes. So let's do a quick recap of everything we've learned today. We went over what live stream parties are and how we've evolved to this way of partying, how to set up your live stream party, the flow of your live stream party, and best practices. Now we're going to be opening it up for questions and answers, and I have a moderator here to help me.
Awesome. Thank you, Reagan, for that amazing content. We had lots of questions come in, and we are really excited to be able to answer those for you. I know a lot of questions had to do with the recording. We were busy connecting with our production company. I know I hit recording too, just in case, but hopefully they have everything under control. But all of these are we have our primary recordings. Oh, my husband just walked in. Hello. So I just wanted to address a couple housekeeping things again, because those came up. So first and foremost, again, with our tasty tidbits, we don't have any handouts to print out. These are a little bit more casual, shorter form trainings. So just the notes that you take, and then obviously you can go through the playbacks as well to take more information. And then I know people were asking like, oh, where do I get the breakout session handouts? Because I know that's coming tomorrow. And yes, you can print out the ones for tomorrow today, but know that the ones for Saturday will not be available yet. So you'll have to wait till after general session 2 on that. All right, so I think, and Reagan, if there's a question that you would prefer I answer, just let me know. So we're going to go ahead and start going through our list of questions that we got in the Q&A. So I think the first question was, are there going to be outlines for live stream parties available on Dash? And we don't have specific party outlines for live stream parties on Dash, just like we don't have a super specific outline for in-person parties. I think that you can follow the same flow as an in-person party. So we have heard how helpful it is to take party experience training in the in-person just to understand the party flow. But we hear that people are doing what they're most comfortable cooking and demonstrating. So we highly recommend focusing on that. And then there is a Facebook group for Zoom parties, and I can't remember if we mentioned that earlier or not, and Reagan probably knows the exact name of the group off the top of her head. There is so many consultants sharing such great information in there, and you could even, I think Christina Bailey even, is it Krista Bailey? I'm sorry. It's like being on camera stress. You can even see people who have posted their parties and see examples. All right, so a question for you, Reagan, is someone asked, do you do a live stream party in addition to a virtual party, or is it an alternative?
So you can kind of run it however you would like, but usually people are doing this separate from a virtual party, just as a different way of partying so that it's more similar to their in-person cooking shows rather than just a Facebook party.
And I think it's a great option if you have a host who doesn't do Facebook. I mean, we hear that every once in a while, like, they don't do Facebook. What should I do? I want to do some type of virtual experience. And this is a great option. I do think that there were 2 really interesting questions around alternative ways to do the Zoom party. So first and foremost, there was a question of, does it have to be Zoom? I know some of you have asked, what about Facebook rooms or house party? Reagan, do you want to tackle that, or do you want me to answer that?
Sure, I can talk about it a little bit. So why we primarily talked about Zoom, just to get this out of the way, is because this is just what most consultants are using, but there are plenty of tools out there that are very similar and do the same function. So if you were more comfortable using, someone mentioned Google Meet or Facebook Rooms, that's totally fine. Facebook Rooms is just a great option that is super similar to Zoom rather than Facebook Live if all of your guests and your host is on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing is you want to try to use the virtual tool that most of the hosts and guests are going to be familiar with. Right now, we're in this unique time that all of a sudden people are very comfortable with Zoom, more so than they would have been 8 months ago. Whereas House Party hasn't really grown here in the US as much as it has in Europe. I know that our German consultants actually did fantastic with House Party. But that was an app that's more popular over there. So I say go where your host and your guest would be most comfortable. All right. Okay. With the Zoom party, do you have to do a cooking demo, or could you do a pre-recorded video, Reagan, or even like a PowerPoint slideshow?
Yeah, so we've actually heard of it being done both ways. So you can really, whatever you're comfortable with, you are more than welcome to do. So some people do want to cook and just stream themselves live cooking. Other people don't want to have to cook the same meal if they're doing multiple a week. So we've seen that they've recorded themselves and then shared their screen and played a video of them doing their cooking demo. That way they're not actually doing it each time.
Yep. And then Reagan, can you explain a little bit more about the benefit of doing the Zoom versus a Facebook Live?
Yeah, so if you guys have ever done a Facebook Live before, you'll realize that you can't see people who are watching your live. You'll just see the number of people who are watching, and then they have to comment and say, hi, hello, whatever you have them do to know that they are there. But with a Zoom, you can see and hear everyone who is there, unless they mute themselves or they have their video turned off. And so we just kind of like the Zoom idea because it's a little bit more interactive than a Facebook Live and allows the guests and the hosts all see each other and interact more together.
Awesome. So I think the other question, it came up multiple times, so I know we may have typed it in the Q&A, but I think it's important to address it again, is you had mentioned Facebook event a lot as the way to promote this experience. Can you share more why we're suggesting Facebook events versus group, and then what options consultants have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also mentioned that if you are more comfortable using a group than an event, you are more than welcome to do that. However, we do recommend using Facebook event because these live stream parties are an event that are happening at an exact date and time. And by using an event, it helps eliminate some of the confusion that goes along with these live stream parties that some people are having. And it also is really great because it will send event reminders to people who have subscribed to the event or are in the event. So that's why we recommend using an event over a group. But you can absolutely use a group if that's what you're comfortable with.
And then we did have some technical questions around using Zoom and your tips around the personal meeting or the personal meeting room versus like scheduling a meeting. So can you just quickly highlight again what those advantages are?
Yeah, so using a personal meeting room, if you guys have ever done Zoom before, that is the same link every time. And so some consultants prefer to use that because if they're doing multiple parties each week and trying to send that Zoom link out to everyone and make sure they have it, it's just the same link. But with a personal meeting room, it's a different link for each meeting. And so some consultants found it a little confusing when they had 3 live streams that week and they were trying to send guests the correct party link, because then they might have guests who are popping in and like, where is everyone? And it's like, that wasn't their meeting. So personal meeting room was easier. And then also people liked that with the personal meeting room, you don't have to change the settings each time. So automatically Zoom will put a password on the meeting. And when you have people who are already having trouble getting on Zoom, a password is not what you need. So people just really liked that they don't have to reset everything every time.
Awesome. So I know that this is a question that we got, is what's your best advice for consultants on how they should handle guests or maybe even a host that's technically challenged? I know we hit on this a little bit in the presentation.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be to communicate in advance. So sharing how to download Zoom and setting those expectations ahead of time. When you have a host who isn't quite sure, make sure that you spend the time with them before the actual party to show them how they can get on and how they can show their video and just basic Zoom functions like that. So practicing and communicating ahead of time can help eliminate a lot of confusion and make sure that the guest turnout is high.
Great. And what if the host isn't on Facebook at all? Can you just do a regular Zoom party by itself? And how would you perhaps work with the host on that?
Absolutely. So if your host isn't on Facebook, you can still do Zoom. It's completely separate from Facebook, which is great. But what you can do is work with your host and figure out how it is best to communicate with them and their guests, whether that's through email or text. Just make sure that communication is consistent and you can send the same kind of how-tos and expectations that you would in the event, but just send it through email or text, whatever works best for you and your host and their guests.
Great. Sorry, hold on one second. The joys of us doing national conference from home is that I have to coordinate not having my children in the house and having people take care of them. I just have to do one quick thing.
I know that you guys also were asking where we could find that image that we displayed. It was how to download Zoom. If you go into marketing imagery, you can just search Zoom and that will pop up. And then you guys can post that, and it's been a really great resource for people who don't have Zoom yet or haven't downloaded it yet.
Yep. Okay. I think there's a lot of questions, and we're seeing in the chat about the security measures with Zoom, and I know that, yeah, there's going to be changes coming in the future to make sure that Zoom is a really secure platform. And so we do this at work ourselves. Like, we do have to use the waiting room feature where you would accept each person coming in. What's nice is once there's a bunch of people there, you can admit all at one time and do that as well. So yeah, I mean, with this platform and with any platform, we're going to have to continue to learn and evolve as those updates come in. I think one question, Reagan, that you'll be best to answer is that we talked about the back camera, but what are some tips for someone if they want to be able to see the comments and so forth coming in?
Yeah, so one tip that we have is do some host coaching and ask your host to keep an eye on the chat for you if you can't see it because of your device, and then take some time and let your host read those questions. Or what you can do is just grab your device and flip the camera around and show yourself and read through the messages that way. Or if you have a second device, you can join it from both devices and then use one device to check out the chat.
Awesome. So I know there's questions about the free Zoom account again. You know, as Reagan shared earlier, the free account is just 40 minutes, so it really is a little hard to do a full experience during that 40 minutes. And I know sometimes what we have to do if someone's using a free account, it's like you almost have to ask everyone to log back in again, and you don't want that experience because you don't want to lose anyone. So if you think you're someone that's going to be doing at least like 2 Zoom parties a month, like invest in the monthly fee. I think it's about $15 a month in the US.
And something else that we've seen consultants do is sharing an account with their team if everyone's doing this kind of party.
Yep. Awesome. So someone asked, like, how do you share the party link in Zoom or the catalog link in Zoom? Like, any tips around that and how to really leverage the chat for some information?
Yeah, so I would recommend first sending it out via text or email before the party so that they have those materials and can pull them up on their device wherever. But you can also send them in the Zoom chat, and that will be very similar to the chat that you guys are using right now. So you can send the link in there.
Yeah, and I know there's some people there, they're like, I don't know if I would recommend sharing a team one. There is some logistical challenges because you all have to align your calendars and all of that. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely the option to do monthly fees. And I know someone said, like, you can be creative and work within the free account and you just do a shorter demo. So you don't have to do like a full meal. Like Reagan shared earlier, I mean, you could even go live and say, hey, I'm going to be sharing my 5 favorite prepping tools that I can't live without. Or once it gets close to maybe kids going back to school, whether you're homeschooling them or they're going on location, maybe it's like, I'm going to share my best back to school lunch ideas or dorm room ideas. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can be creative in this. And it just, just to iterate, I mean, guests just love being able to learn from you and hear the product tips that you have. So it really is the closest thing that we have to a cooking party experience that you can do virtually, and you can be able to invite so many different people to be able to be a part of that experience. And then you can learn a lot more about Zoom by just going to the website and learning about it. Because I know someone said, hey, are we going to get trained on Zoom? We highly recommend that you go there. They have a great help center. And in addition, there will be a Dash task that is created around live stream parties. So it'll be a condensed version of what you are learning here today. So I'm going to do one more check to see if we have any other questions that has come up a lot. It looks like people are still asking about downloading notes for tomorrow, and someone said that if you go into the breakout sessions, there's a link under the breakout sessions. And yes, the Reagan, do you know the name of the Facebook group that consultants have joined to share information about Zoom?
I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I can definitely check on that right now.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. I was going to say, if you have any other last questions, please type them in.
I found it. It is called Pampered Chef Zoom Party Success Group.
Laura even typed it in for me over here. We got people doing links. Thank you.
It is great. And there are some consultants are doing recordings of their parties so you can watch and see how they do it, which is so great. They've been helpful to us, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's another great question that came in is, can you do a block party with Zoom? And I can try to answer that, and Reagan, you can fill in. I have heard of consultants trying that. Like, they'll just do one party a weekend, and they will invite their hosts that they would have scheduled and those guests for like one big mega party. And just like we recommend with virtual parties, with block parties, the most important thing they know is that the host really has to help share out their personal shopping link to make sure that people shop from the right link. I think just the only watch out is that one great advantage to Zoom parties is that it is a more intimate experience. And like Reagan said before, people really do like to interact and chat and connect with friends. And so the only drawback of doing a block party in this type of style is that it may not feel as personally connected as it would if you would do an individual party. So again, just to reiterate, if you're like concerned about having to cook X amount of times, you could try, just like we're doing here. Like, we had a pre-recorded video, we're engaging in the chat and the Q&A during it, and then we're going live to answer questions. And that's definitely an approach that you can try as well. And I know someone asked, do you do a Facebook event through your business page? And yes, we would recommend it through your business page.
I'm trying to think of another question that I saw, and I believe it was about recording your party and how long that lasts in Zoom. So, Jackie, would you care to touch on that? I know that we record our meetings all the time, and I wasn't sure how long they hang out there before you need to download it or upload it somewhere else.
I'll try to best answer this. I think one, if you're going to record the party, let guests know. As Reagan said earlier, it's really important. Sometimes guests don't want to be recorded, and they should have the option to turn off their camera if they don't want to be on. But if you, the recordings are available. I want to say, I don't know the exact timeline, but they're probably available at least for a month or longer. I don't know if it's based on the number of recordings you have in your library or so forth. Oh yeah, someone said 30 days. And I know people record it so they can share the recording to other guests that can't make it as a courtesy. All right, and again, I think there was another question that came up. Oh, sharing your screen in Facebook is awesome. Oh, this is a question I wanted to answer. So what if you're someone that got one of our limited edition kits and you don't have a ton of product? And how can you do a Zoom party with a limited number of products? And I think it's totally fine to use what you have. And then just like someone said, so let's say you got the blender, right? You can showcase how to make a quick smoothie in the blender, talk about all the other things that you do, use the cooking guide, like show the cooking guide, and you can actually pull up the cooking guide in our ebooks. So you could share a screen and flip through the e-guide or the e-cookbook. You could also walk through a catalog online and point out some of your favorite products that you can't wait to get. Like, and let them know, like, I don't have everything yet, but one of the things I love about this job is that I can get products for a discount, and these are the things that I can't wait to get. Yeah, so someone's like, show videos, show a virtual catalog. You don't have to own the entire Pampered Chef collection to be able to do a Zoom party like this.
We had another question come in that asks, do the guests have to have their camera and mic to come to the party on Zoom? And no, they can absolutely turn off their mic and turn off their video if they don't want to be shown. And as we mentioned in the recording, we do recommend that while you are doing your presentation or your demonstration, that guests mute themselves, just because it can be a little distracting if they have pets in the back or they're doing other things. So it just makes it a little bit clearer for everyone else to hear and understand.
Awesome. And I love all of the suggestions in chat. I think that's one of the great things about doing this, is that you guys are all supporting each other as well. Someone asked, how do you position your phone without a tripod? I've seen some really creative things. I've seen people stack lots of like cookbooks in their kitchen, or like a stool. Reagan, have you seen some other crazy things too?
Yeah, it literally looked like a scientific apparatus that was holding a phone above like a boiling pot of water. I was like, that sounds a little risky for me, but personally, I would use like service tumblers, like cups like this, and I used to just stick my phone in it, because if you lodge it down there enough, it won't move around, but then you can set the cup and move it with you. So that was what I used to use.
Awesome. So I think we're going to answer, I think we've answered a lot of these questions, at least the ones that have come in most frequently. And Reagan, someone said that your skin looks flawless. So
well, thank you.
Those compliments too. Well, again, thank you so much for attending this Tasty Tidbit today. And congrats to any of you that attended more than one session today and invested your time in training. And there is so much fun stuff to come up the next 2 days. So definitely get your seatbelts on, get ready to learn. It's going to be amazing. And we thank you all for tuning in today and also bearing with us as we had some technical difficulties and we're learning as we go since this is our first time doing it this way too. Reagan, any last words to share?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. I was really nervous and everyone's been great, so.
Yes, give it up for Reagan for her first tasty tidbit. Woo!
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a great evening and we will see you tomorrow.